Hey everybody. So I know that last week I said we were going to talk about skirting and scouring. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't cooperated with me. I need kind of a big space where I can spread out a tarp and lay the fleece out so that I can show you kind of the process on how to do some skirting and scouring. Well, as soon as the weather cooperates, we'll get to that. So instead, what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about drop spindles. So what we've got here is three different versions of Turkish drop spindles. We have one that's a lace weight version. This one will give you a nice thin thread. We'll take a look there, see how nice and thin that thread is. And then we have a medium weight Turkish spindle, and this is what I'll demonstrate on today. And then we have a heavier weight Turkish spindle. Now this one you can either spin thicker singles on, or you can also ply on this drop spindle. It's, a lot bigger, has a lot more space. It's also a little bit heavier, so it makes plying a lot easier. But let me talk to you just a little bit about some of the benefits of a Turkish spindle. Now, we know that there are kind of two different kinds of drop spindles. There's a top whorl and a bottom whorl. There are other different formats like the Scottish Dialgan, a couple other different kinds. The Turkish is somewhat a bottom whorl. You see the weight is down here at the bottom. One of the things that I like about these is you pull the center pin out and your spindle completely collapses. So this is great for storage, right? So we'll just assemble this back together here. This piece slides right through there, and then the top edge goes right through the little hole, just like so. And this sets you up. This end is just a little bit larger so that it holds it in place so that it's not going to slip off the bottom. And that's what gives you your weight. There's also, if you see these little gold or brass metal pieces in here, these are also weights that help that outside edge, because of physics, keep that drop spindle spinning. So these are nice and light and portable. The other thing I like about these is that you can wind your yarn right straight onto the spindle in a single ball. And it actually turns it into a center pull ball if you load the spindle correctly when you're first starting to do this. And the way to get this kind of neatly wound cop on top is you're going to go over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1. And if you just keep weaving that way, winding that way the whole time, then you're going to get a very nice cop that's very evenly distributed. It helps keep the weight distributed on the spindle so it even spins even better as you add more weight. Now, sometimes a Turkish spindle can be just a little bit tricky to start, but one of the things that we want to do, so we've got our little bit of roving here, I'm going to just twist out a little bit of yarn, and we're going to give it a nice little twist here. And you want to make it long enough to reach all the way from the bottom and go around the top just a little bit. So let me show you as soon as I get a little bit of this twisted on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this end and we are going to pull our center pin, and we're just going to lay this end right over top. Oop. We'll try and keep it together. We'll lay this end right over top of that hole there, and then we're going to take our pin, we're going to stick it right down that hole so that it keeps that yarn in place there. See? So now we can take the yarn up the side of the spindle. Now make your little half hitch. What I do is I just take my index finger and my ring finger, or my middle finger, and I push back just a little bit with my middle finger, and then tip it down, and then just poke the tip right through there and pull, and you've got your nice little half hitch there that'll hold this on while you're starting to spin. And then you just begin spinning as normal. So that Turkish spindle spins really, really well. It's still going. I barely even gave it a flick. That's the other thing that I really like about these, is that they've got so much motion because of the weight on the outside edge. Still going. So I'm going to add just a little bit more twist here. And what we're going to do, give it just one more spin to make sure that that's nice and all the way up the yarn. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to flick this end off like so, and we're going to go over 2 and under 1, over 2 and under 1, again over 2, under 1, and here we are back at the beginning again. So we'll just keep winding over 2, under 1, until we get back to the point where we have to make our little half hitch again. So you can also do this with your ring finger and pinky finger. Make that little loop. Get that in there. And so see, your top now, you're starting to get it into that little pattern. And you can just keep going with your Turkish drop spindle. And even just a little tiny turn gives it a lot of motion. You can see how this is still spinning, and I just barely even gave it a flick. So this is one of the reasons why I really like these particular spindles. Not only that, but they're extremely portable. They're very, very simple to use. Now, the reason why a center pole ball might be important is if you have a larger spindle and all you're doing is making a single, what you can do is you just pop that center out right there, you slide out this piece, you slide out this piece, and here you have a cop that you can just pull from the center all the way through to the other end. Now, if you're going to ply this, this is another reason why Turkish spindles are really good, because you can start from both ends of the cop. So we've got the center end and then we've got the other end, and you see we're just pulling from here, and it makes it much easier to ply this yarn. So what we can do is we can just go ahead and use the same principle that we used before. So we are going to put these two bottom pieces back together, and we're going to lay our two ends right over top of that hole, okay? And then we're going to stick the center pin right back down through the hole, like so. And now you are set up for plying. Make your little loop, your half hitch, slip her right on top, and now we'll go the other direction because I spun the other direction. So now you can start plying your yarn. Just want to make sure that you don't get it tangled all up in all of the other stuff that you have hanging down here. So we're starting to ply that yarn. See? Just give it a nice little twist. Run that twist up there. We'll keep it going. And then again, you pop your top off and you wind it over 2, under 1. Over 2, under 1. Over 2, under 1. Over 2, under 1. And you just keep doing that same pattern until you get back to the point where you put your half hitch back on. And we're going to go one more pass here, over 2, under 1. Okay, now we're in a good spot. I can loop it right back on there with my half hitch, and I can keep plying my yarn. So there we go, plying away at this yarn. And again, just a little tiny flick, and it's still spinning. Still spinning. Okay, so now that you have that much plied, we're going to go over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, all the way back here. Now, when you get back and you're done plying, again, you can pop this center pin out. You can take out the one piece, you can take out the second piece, and again, you have a center pull ball. So, this is one of the reasons why Turkish spindles are a really great spindle to use. They spin easily, they spin freely, they take a little bit of extra learning to get that yarn started, but I think maybe give a Turkish spindle a try, and it might be the right one for you. I know I love them. I switch back and forth to different kinds of spindles all the time for different purposes, but these happen to be among some of my favorites. So give it a shot, see what you think. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about Turkish spindles.